Hello students, today we are covering the basic concept of OOPS. So dear students, before we are covering the basic concept of OOPS, first of all we have to know few points regarding procedural programming. So dear students, what is a procedural programming? A programming which focus on processing of instruction in order to perform desired computation, which means that whenever you want to process the instruction, these instructions are processed in a specific procedure. Dear student, in case of procedural programming, we are taking the help of top-down approach where a main function is divided into small sub function. Okay, so dear students, in case of procedural programming, okay, we are always focused on doing things, okay, just like algorithm. And the best example of procedural programming is C language or Pascal language. Now we are moving to our object oriented programming. So dear students, basically what is object oriented programming? A programming where we are combining the data and function together into a single unit. What is? Where we are combining the data and function together into a single unit. With that unit is known as object. So dear students, as the name indicate, a programming language where we are taking the help of object is known as object oriented programming. And what is an object? Combination of data and function. Okay dear students, in case of OOPS, dear students, these object, okay, is a collection of set of data, and such data is known as member data. Okay, and in case of OOPS, the functions are known as member function. So always remember, okay, there is always a question. The question is the set of data, okay, in OOPS language is known as, that is, member data, and the function is known as member function. And dear students, basically the OOPS programming follow bottom up approach. So you can see the procedural programming follow top down approach, and the OOPS programming follow bottom up approach. Dear students, in case of OOPS, we are also taking the help of class. Okay, now what is a class? It is a template that represent group of object that share some property and relationship. Okay, so these are few things regarding OOPS. Now what is the difference between procedural and object oriented programming? In case of procedural, large program is divided into small program, but in case of OOPS, program are divided into object. In case of procedural programming, data is not hidden, okay, but in case of OOPS programming, data is hidden. In case of procedural programming, data can be accessed by external function, but in OOPS, data cannot be accessed by external function. So dear students, please remember, in case of procedural, data is not hidden, object data is hidden. Second thing, in case of procedural programming, data can be accessed by external function, but in case of OOPS, data cannot be accessed by external function. The procedural follow top-down approach, OOPS follow bottom-up approach. In procedural, whatever the communication, okay, whatever the communication performed by the data, it is done with the help of function. But in case of OOPS, object may communicate with each other through function. In procedural programming, major focus is on procedure rather than data, but in OOPS, the major focus is on data rather than procedure. So dear students, this is the basic difference between procedural and object oriented programming. Now what are the basic concept of OOPS? So these are the few basic concept of OOPS which contain various characteristics just like object, class, data abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, overloading, polymorphism, dynamic binding and message binding. So dear students, these are few topics that we are covering today. Basically, what is procedural programming, what is object oriented programming, okay, what is the difference between procedural and object oriented programming, and what are the various characteristics or various concept of OOPS language. So thank you for joining today's session.